Hello and welcome to Puzzle Creators React, a new part of the Infinite Escape Room where we look at escape rooms and puzzles in film and TV from a game designer's perspective. We're like the more sophisticated, older sibling of the Infinite Escape Room, the one who went off and went to college and has glasses and a turtleneck and shit. We're very, very posh. I'm your host this week, Jamie Gibbs. As well as the puzzle podcast, The Infinite Escape Room, I'm also a puzzle and game designer for tabletop and live escape games. I've also done a bit of escape room consulting, and I've run a few bespoke escape events as well in my time. Joining me this week, we have...
Hello, I'm Mairi. I'm also a puzzle designer. I work across board games, video games, escape rooms, tabletop, like all of the above. Anything puzzle is the kind of stuff I work on. Yeah, that's me.
Hi, I'm Alex Hylands-White. I'm a co-founder and a director at Clockwork. We used to design escape rooms and even had a game make it onto the first Turpica Top 100 list called Loop. But now we're focused on building our show control system, COGS, which is used in escape rooms and other immersive experiences around the world.
Loop is a great escape room, but it also ruined my life. I've told you this story so many times, Alex, but for Jamie's benefit, it was like my birthday. It was like a big, important birthday. And I was like, I want to try a new escape room. And I went to play Loop. It was like, there's a puzzle towards the end that is a piece of antiquated technology that I do not know how to use. And I almost, like, it was the moment when we escaped the escape room, we finally did it with like seconds to spare. And I was just, they were like, oh, did you enjoy this escape room? And the people I was were like, yeah. And I was like, yes. Like, I was frowning. I could not pretend.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, stuck.
Yeah, so the antiquated piece of technology that Mairi is referring to is a hole punch. And the hole punch puzzle was famously a Marmite puzzle in the room. Mm-hmm. And it really was, to be honest, we ran out of money and we just needed a puzzle and it cost us like £10 because we had like a hole punch and some paper. And it was really just a follow the instructions puzzle. But honestly, people just got so either got it and were like, yeah, this is totally fine. Or would just spend like a million years on it and go crazy. And we were just like, what have we done? And like people still come up to me to this day and just say, I hate you because of that stupid hole punch.
Like, I didn't know hole punches had a correct way of being used. Okay, I'll just put it down to that. It's like, that's not something one learns in life. That.
Well, you never need to punch holes.
No, I use a computer.
Thanks for making me feel old. But I remember the hole punch days. Time was, if you went to the front of the class and punched the paper for the teacher, you were the star boy. So we'll just talk about this hole punch for the rest of the episode.
I could. I really
Listeners, where do you sit on hole punches? Are you for, against? Are you one of the many young people listening to this podcast? I say many, I don't know. I don't look at the stats. But are you one of the many young people listening who don't know what I'm talking about? See, back in the old days, paper was holeless. We had to invent the holes ourselves, but with a little device that punched holes in paper. Ludicrous. But we're not here to talk about hole punches, everybody. We are here to talk about escape rooms in TV and film, which is what Puzzle Creators React is all about. So you've probably seen it now when you're watching a sitcom or when you're watching a film. Escape room episodes are almost a trope at this point. You get your musical episode, your puppet episode, the It Was All a Dream episode, the escape room episode. And there's an increasingly long list of TV shows and movies that specialize in escape rooms, much to our delight, because I always like watching stuff I enjoy represented in media. And of course, dear listener, episodes like these don't come cheap. The world is a dark and scary place, and we require the continued financial and moral support of our growing army of patrons. And this episode is no different. So I'd like to give a special shout out to J. Cameron Cooper, Chris Mikesell, and Karen Kate for keeping us off the streets and on the air. Thank you so very much. This week, we are going to review the escape room episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, The Gang Escapes, which is season 13, episode 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about this as if it's an actual real escape room that we could play and put it through its paces. The theme, the puzzles, team dynamics, and whether we think it would actually work and what we would do as professionals to improve it. So bit of backstory on the episode and the show itself, first of all. So this episode, The Gang Escapes, was released in 2018. So still relatively early in terms of the lifetime of escape rooms. The show itself, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, is a sitcom about 5 utterly despicable narcissists who run a bar in Philly and follows their schemes and inevitable downfall. And the show's been running for 17 seasons, and the downfall, there's no bottom so far to how far they'll stoop. This episode in particular, as one of the gang, Dee Reynolds, she hires a company to create an escape room in their apartment as a means to try and boost the gang's productivity and to make herself feel smart. But as is the case often with these episodes of Always Sunny, their personalities get in the way of getting anywhere near the exit. So before we get into the puzzle itself, what do we think about It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia in general? Are we fans? Have we watched it before? What are your thoughts?
I've never seen an episode before, so I really appreciate that context you just gave. That I was like, wait, are these supposed to be likable people? Are they like...
Lord, no. They are the worst people in humanity. So I have watched all of Always Sunny ever since it started, and I love the fact that it has morphed and morphed over the years into the characters have become incredibly just like caricatures, essentially, of their former selves. And as you say, there seems to be no deeper they could possibly go, and then they somehow do it in terms of how absolutely awful everyone is. It's so sad, and like in terms of all the characters are just very tragic, basically. But in fact, I actually thought sort of by the rules of all the characters that they've played by in the past, this episode played out in exactly the right way, for all the characters.
Yeah, and I adore Always Sunny. It's one of my comfort shows, which may say more about me than I care to admit on. It's really cathartic to see these people who are just so much worse than anything that I've ever seen in real life, and just thinking, at least I'm not like that. I know that's the bottom, so I'm doing quite well as a human being. So going in cold to that series, Mairi, must have been a bit of an eye-opener.
Well, also I appreciate the context. You just said that they hired someone to do it in their apartment, because that's like one of the biggest things I wrote on my piece of paper. I was like, what is this set?
Yeah,
like, this is not an escape room set.
I was like, what? So I think the reason they did it was because it was easier to film, because they've already got the set of their apartment. And so it was a very big kind of fudge, I thought, to try and to make that work. They're just going to, we're going to hire a company to bring a escape room to your house. Now, this is not impossible. Now, people do bring escape rooms to locations and set them up. But if you come to your house, I mean, that the amount of stuff that's in your house that you'd have to put it in and around, I have never personally heard of it or done an escape room like this. So I was already a bit like, my eyebrow was fish hooked at this point.
It's an interesting business model, though. It's not been, with good reason, it's probably not been done before, because logistically a nightmare. But it might be a gap in the market for someone to come and install an escape room at your home. But it feels janky. You can see like this. I suppose, Mairi, you might not see the seams between the apartment and the what isn't part of the escape room, because you've only seen this one episode. But you can see from the previous episodes, and if you've watched it long enough, okay, so the TV with the Hulk fist on it, that's theirs. That belongs to them. The bookcase with the books on, no, they wouldn't own that. So that's just been added in, and there's so many props that they've stuck in for this escape room. It's insane.
Agreed. You'd have to bring like a van of things to make it work.
It's supposed to be Sherlock Holmes themed, right? So I was looking around in the background. I was like, why are there like flags from like American sports teams and stuff? But that actually added a lot of context, because there were some things that were Sherlock Holmesy in the room. So I'm guessing all of those were the things that the air quotes escape room company brought in. So yeah, bookshelf, wild. That is.
It's almost like the thing in animation, in cartoons, where you can see the bit of the background that's going to be animated because it's a lighter shade than the background. Like, if you're in that apartment, if someone came into my house and put that into the escape room, well, I know that bit, and that bit are all related to the puzzles, because the rest of this stuff is my shit. So I don't need to focus on that. Easy solve.
I hosted a party a couple of months ago, and I would say 90% of the guests were not escape room people, and 10% of the guests were escape room people. And in this party, people had characters, they had things to do, puzzles to solve. And one of the escape room people walks immediately up to my bookshelf and pulls off a fake dictionary that contained a log. And I was like, how did you find that? Like, that wasn't supposed to be revealed until like 11 p.m. No. He was like, yeah, we have the same prop, and I wanted to solve this immediately. It's like that.
I love it. How well do you think they actually managed the Sherlock Holmes theme? I'm going to guess your answer, but what do you think?
Not well. I did not get the vibe. The terrible yieldy English accent at the start was not enough to hold up the whole scene. I'll just leave it at that.
She did her best, but
yeah, I mean, we didn't really get. I mean, we all know this is coming, but we don't really get into anything that is to do with
full stop
Sherlock Holmes whatsoever. They may as well have just said this room's in space, but it didn't matter because you never get there. So, and I think they probably wanted to do that English accent thing just to keep the Dee's English accent joke going.
Yeah,
she always wants to do an English accent, and it's always very bad. So I think they just wanted to slip that one in.
Yeah, I I found it surprising when, like, thinking of it as if it was a legit experience, that they had, as well as the props, they installed CCTV cameras in the apartment and installed a deadlock on the apartment door that automatically shut with a code. Like, that shit's going to be expensive for a bespoke event.
They've got to like modify your door to like put that on there.
How much money do these guys have?
Yeah, and then also a big no-no, being locked in. Like, you're actually physically locked in your own house at this point. I'd be like, what? Okay, you're going to modify my door and lock me in my own house. I would genuinely be like, okay.
As we discover later on in the episode, there is one means of escape out the window from Dennis's sex room, which has more escape room elements to it than the escape room.
Yes. Wasn't part of the escape room, and yet I wanted to see more of the puzzles in that room because that's
this is where
more well developed.
From the beginning, like Dennis essentially, like, because they're trying to explain what an escape room is to the gang. Like the GM is there trying to explain that, you know, why they should do this, and Dennis is like, oh, obviously it's a sexual thing, and you think, oh, that's just Dennis being weird, and then he goes, okay, well, I don't think, you know, when he's told it's not that, he's like, okay, whatever. But then later on, you're like, oh, Dennis likes to lock people up and get them to solve essentially puzzles, but in a very dark way while he watches from another room.
So immersive.
Okay, yeah, but also that is totally not surprising if you know Dennis's character.
Yeah, he's a sexual deviant and a psychopath. So,
lovely.
Oh yeah, he also has sort of a complex where he thinks he's God, basically, and he thinks he could control everything, which is the point where Mac, they're just having a conversation with Mac, and he's like, can you just stand up? And then he stands up, and then later on he sits down. He says, "Don't sit down." And he's like, that's the sort of voice he uses when he's going into his golden bod mode. And it's like, I think it would have been so disorientating for you. You just this late into this.
This is not an onboarding episode for the series.
Yeah.
No. Well, I always wanted to get into it. So I was like, everyone loves this show. This is a great time to try. I'm not sure. I'm not convinced.
I say stick with it, but it's difficult to find specific episodes as a good onboarding ramp. But yeah, this one does throw you in the deep end in terms of the actual like the characters and the plot. But as you said, Alex, yeah, it does perfectly encapsulate all the different characters' narcissistic tendencies and the main pain points. The GM in this room is awful. Like, they start literally smashing the props on the floor deliberately. She does nothing to intervene.
Yeah, she's completely. Well, I think which is all the props she's brought with her. And there is a joke where they say, like, well, if we don't get the answers, we're just going to smash all your props to pieces.
She doesn't, like, stop the game or anything.
No, and yeah, she's obviously completely lost control. She probably thinks these people are mad and feral and probably not worth getting involved with at this point. Yeah.
She turns up when Dee falls out the window. That's the point that she decides to take a step in the right direction. But at that point, yeah, it's too late. But yeah, I think an escape room set in Dennis's sex dungeon might be slightly more intriguing because, you have to find the safe word. I wouldn't want to touch anything. The blacklight puzzle is going to be interesting on that one.
Well, it wouldn't be so much a blacklight puzzle. You'd be trying to find the space where there is no blacklight kind of activated, basically.
Just like, So that's the theme, such as it was, not very there at all. Let's talk about the puzzles, or should I say puzzle? What can we say about this?
I mean, you can call it a puzzle. That's the thing. You can even call it that. Like, I mean, yeah, essentially, there is, well, the thing of the episode is obviously like the guys, but they basically lock Dee in a room immediately. They lock her in Dennis's room because they're just like, Dee's an idiot. Let's get rid of her. And the guys just do what the guys do, which is basically just can't get anything done. They have all their power struggles between them, the machismo, and essentially they split into two groups. One of them finds a heart-shaped lock, and one of them finds a heart-shaped key. And essentially the entire episode is just them delivering what they do. But the fact that they each think that they have the advantage over the other, and which all culminates in this summit, which they call as if they've been at war. And they sort of like feel really proud of themselves for getting through that, and then pretending to be essentially like sort of World War I leaders at this summit, as Charlie essentially in a posh voice, and they will have
they got pipes as well.
Yeah, discuss the sort of terms of the treaty, which is that the lock and the key will come together and will be returned. And this is like 2 minutes before the end of the room ends, and then they finally open it and find that there is more clues to the rest of the game. And so essentially in terms of puzzles, we'll never know like really what else there was in this room.
You say you'll never know. I paused it and I took a screenshot. I wrote out all the instructions, and not gonna lie, they're not good. Like we dodged a bullet not having the full stateroom.
Yeah. So
Would you like to know?
Yeah, so for context, when they turn the lock in the heart-shaped, or when they turn the key in the heart-shaped lock, they think that they've gotten out and they've solved the puzzle, but that leads inside the lock is a note that says, and so the game begins.
And then there is a list of bullet points, and this is exactly word for word what it says. Start on the outer ring. Find the white symbol. Line up the color symbols. Form the key on 4 symbols. You will find a number. Line up the window. Next clue will have the same symbol. The symbol will be found elsewhere. When you find the symbol, there will be a chest. The key for the chest is hidden nearby. On the chest, there is an envelope. You must solve the puzzle. This will lead you to your next clue. You have to work together. Be constructive, not destructive.
Well,
that is what it said on that piece of paper.
This is a production assistant scribbling this very quickly. Yeah. Basically just going like, we need something for this shot. Just come up with some puzzle stuff.
Utterly nonsensical.
Yeah. There's a nugget in that would have potential. So the clue says the game begins. And those first few instructions, start an outer ring, find the white symbol, line up the color symbols. You could use that to find a copy of like Ludo. And inside that is, but the rest of it, literally a process set of tasks, which is utter bullshit. And they don't even make any sense.
They don't make sense.
We have also like, there's a key nearby. Just like, we could actually never give a clue, just like, there's a key nearby. It's just like, okay, yeah, that's someone running out of ideas as they're writing.
Mm-hmm.
And those last 2 things aren't even part of the puzzle. It's just like tips on how to be a good team. Be constructive, not destructive. Like, how does that help?
Where's the Sherlock Holmes bit? Other than the funny voice and the fact that you are in 221B and, well, apparently, although you're in your own house. But it's just, they're really, I mean, at the end of the day, it's really just about the dynamics of the group and Dee's sort of sub story, which is she is locked in her own escape room. And I don't know if we mentioned, but essentially she reveals at the point when she's locked in this other room to the game master that she set this whole thing up because she'd actually played this game before and she wanted to impress everyone essentially as if she was really clever. But obviously she gets locked out, so she's unable to do any of this. And that got me thinking, it's just like, I wonder if anyone has done that. Has done it, literally not told anyone that they've done the escape room before just so they look clever. Like, I mean, it plumbs the depths of sadness, as Always Sunny shit.
I've heard a lot of stories like that. Yeah, from Games Masters, and it happens a lot on dates. So people play the escape room like the week before, like with a group of friends, and then take a date there the following week, so they look really flat. And apparently it happens really frequently.
What a great marketing tactic, though, for escape room owners. Just like get a discount on your date when you come in if you've played it already once before to get the lay of the land. Like guaranteed double bookings every time. It's perfect.
I can imagine the GM would just be like, usual. You'd be like, no, just keep that. Can you not do that next time? That's going to be a problem.
You're harshing my buzz. Stop it.
Yeah. And I mean, I've played escape rooms where I've played them before, but with groups where I've been like, I just want to go back in the room again. And obviously I don't want to help. But it is really hard not to. It genuinely is like you just, everything in your body, just you see people struggling and you just want to help. But you feel weird, feel very, very strange. Like, and I don't think I'd get any pleasure out of doing it for fun, like sort of essentially one-upping someone by knowing what's going on. But
it only really works if sort of there's an escape room with a split narrative or like sort of like being separated and you can play it again and do the other side. I feel like that works quite well. But if you're just playing the same puzzles again to look smart, it's no fun for anyone involved. What's the point?
No, but then it totally makes sense for Always Sunny because Dee is just so tragic. She wants to get some form of like recognition from the guys, and this is where her brain has gone. And the fact that she's in Dennis, who's her brother's room, which is this sort of weird sex dungeon that she has to get out of. But Dee, it doesn't faze Dee whatsoever. She's just like, oh, I know Dennis. He's just a weirdo, and therefore it's just like I'm just going to ignore all this weird, creepy stuff and just get on with it because everyone's completely at home with the fact that he's completely mad.
I love the fact that toward the end of that episode when Dee brute forces her way out of that sex room by escaping out the window and ends up falling out of the apartment and ends up in hospital. And then when they go to visit her in hospital, Dennis is like, Dee, you're the only person who's ever managed to escape. And he seems like thoroughly furious that like one person has gotten out of his sex room. And you're like, oh God, what's this guy going to do next?
But it's true, there was a line when you see Dee on the ledge outside the window, Dennis goes, clever girl. Just line, which I appreciate because I love that film. But it's also, I liked it because actually like that was the best escape room that Dee could have done that she had not done before, and she actually had to get out.
Actually, yeah, and she managed it.
And she managed it. And then also at the end when they're in the hospital, and Dee is all banged up and bruised and obviously like worse for wear. And the rest of the gang are there with her. And then they claim that they have actually done the room because they got out. Because the GM let them out because she had to, because there was someone had fallen off a balcony. And basically, but they go, well, you didn't tell us how we should get out of the room. We got out of the room. And weirdly, I was like, actually, yeah, you've got them there. Because like, to be honest, if you give someone a rule, and it's just like Taskmaster. If you give someone a rule, if you don't listen properly, there is always a way you can get around that rule. But you are still playing by the rules. Obviously, you can smash the door open, but that's not playing by the rules, right? So essentially, like all we had to do is say, "Get out of the room," and they got out of the room. I was like, fair enough. So they felt really good and happy. But I also, because that photo they have at the end, because they claim they want to have their photo put on the website because they got out. So she capitulates and she's like, yeah, that's fine. We can do that. And the photo, which is the last sort of shot of the whole episode, is them looking really, really happy. And I actually thought that was perfect because all the guys are really happy because Dee is in extreme pain, I think, because they all hate her. And the guys are all happy because they completed a room and think they're all really clever. And so it was just like a perfect ending to saying like, okay, essentially everyone got what they deserved and wanted at the same time. And having a sort of picture of the gang all happy together, I think is actually quite rare because they're not happy.
That's a really good point. They're like, actually, all right, the room itself, from what I can gather, reading between the lines, that the room is dog shit. Like it was successful in that it did the things that Dee set out to do. It was like mission accomplished in terms of that. So the actual like mechanics of the room might not be that relevant because like they felt good, she felt good. They had a nice experience at the end of it, which is a bizarre thing to say for that room.
Maybe like real escape rooms, the friends we made along the way.
Pretty much. I mean, they all sort of bonded because, like, the guys had gone through a whole kind of war together, which they sort of had feel that they had squashed between themselves, even though it was completely in their own heads. And then, the fact that Dee gets all bust up, they're just all like brilliant. But then they're all in the hospital with her. So it all kind of like, the weird thing about Always Sunny is they all hate each other and all have their weird personal gripes. But they all stick together always throughout the whole thing. And they can't really live without each other. And so that's kind of like, that's why I thought actually it was really sweet to see that last picture and them all actually looking genuinely happy. Because I was like, they rarely are ever in this show.
That's true. It's an oddly positive episode considering the nature of the show. With the sex room, let's go back to the sex room, just circle back to that just briefly. The start of that as a puzzle, as a room with a brief in the onboarding, that actually worked out quite well. That she accidentally hits the alarm clock, which then triggers the laptop, and Dennis is sort of, you didn't say the magic word, and then briefs her that she needs to find the safe word. As a start to an escape room, that's pretty good.
Yeah, does exactly what it needs to, right? Like it's literally sets that, it signposts what you need to do, it signposts what the solution is, what they're looking for, and it's fun. Like you would walk into an escape room and start picking stuff up and stumble across that. I thought that was brilliant. I wanted a whole episode on that. With the caveat of I don't think I actually do, but that has a better escape room.
It would be banned in several countries if it did.
You need to watch more, Mairi, to understand the sort of like depths of Dennis's depravity and weirdness. But yeah, because there's a whole thing about consent in there, which is sort of like by watching this, you consent to whatever I do to you. Stuff like that. It's quite creepy. And obviously the bed starts to vibrate.
It does, yeah.
Which is just distracting. Weird. That's not a puzzle.
So yeah, I imagine there's probably a couple of saucy themed escape rooms that might have a vibrating bed as a thing. What if it vibrates in Morse code?
Yeah, all the Morse code people will be over the moon, not pleasured.
I feel like speaking of saucy escape rooms is a great time for Alex to explain more about the ones in Germany.
Ooh.
Yes, so Dream Labs. So the games are Dream Labs, which are in Bad Steben, which is in like the depths of Germany. It's literally in a sort of retirement village in the middle of nowhere, but it is well worth going to because the games there are very, very, very good. And the owner of said escape rooms who paid for everything, he made all his money from a kink hookup website, and he sold that website for quite a lot of money. And so, as a little nod to sort of how he got his fortune, he has put a sex toy in every room, or multiple sex toys, to be honest. And so, if you can play Spot the... So, next time, if everyone goes to Dreamlabs, which I really implore everybody who listens to this podcast to do, because they are fantastic games, and there's a third one on the way, is that, to play a game of Spot the Sex Toy as a little sub-game. Yeah.
I'm going to do that in every room, no matter Germany, UK, I'm going to play Spot the Sex Toy from now on in every escape room. Just in case, because you never know. That sounds mad.
One game's easier than the other, I would say. Like, one game's like, okay, there's a lot of sex toys in this room. But the Monkey Island one is tricky.
Oh, interesting. It's been in my pocket this whole time. Yeah. So what do we think about the team dynamics of this episode, especially you, Mairi, come into this cold. So without the context of who these people are and how they interact, if you were playing with these people, how would that go for you?
They do not understand the basic premise of an escape room. They start off in the introduction briefing to be like, okay, well, if I win, do I get to go out for a steak and stuff? And they've misunderstood the premise that there's not one winner. It's not competitive. It's collaborative experience, but they still play the whole thing as if it's competitive. And they split into 2 teams. So it's sort of 2 teams of 2, not including the person who's locked in the other room, and find half the puzzle each and proceed to not share it. And it's just a fundamental misunderstanding of escape room. There's plenty of other escape rooms I would love to recommend to them, which are competitive escape rooms where you split into teams, but that is not one of them. So I think that team dynamic was terrible.
So I would jump in to say that if there was ever a team to do this, it would be the gang, right? It would be this gang who would take an escape room, what you're supposed to do, and just completely ignore it and just do something like completely, i.e. not communicate, i.e. basically see it as a competitive thing when it's not. Because it was essentially said at the beginning, like, yeah, you play the game, you don't play each other. And they essentially just ignore it, because Dennis just goes, I've kind of stopped listening to you, let's just do it anyway.
Yeah. I think they should have played something like Model UN or something instead. Or like maybe even like a Jubentia game where it's like a murder mystery and each to their own. But they should not have played an escape room. That was a terrible choice for this group of people. I'm
not sure if the word collaborative is in their vocabulary, to be honest with you. It doesn't seem like something that they would ever want to do. I think of the players that were there, like she's played the room already, so it's difficult to see like how well she would have done. I think Dennis is probably the one that sort of would be the most likely to actually escape. Like he was talking about taking inventory and he was organized. The problem is he's a narcissistic psychopath who wants to control the narrative. So that always gets in the way of everything. But if that was toned down a little bit, I think he might have been able to bring the gang together enough to be able to actually solve something.
I think without the others, he probably would have done quite well. I think it's just the presence of the others is what brings him down, is that he can't stand to see other people not doing what he wants, or he can't stand to not be sort of top of the tree, or because there's a whole power dynamic between the groups. They think that they are essentially trying to one up each other. And there was a whole bit, I should have noted it down, about, I guess, a specific thing that they think it's like, he keeps mentioning it as like the head of the herd is always chewing, is what he says.
The head cow is always grazing.
That's the one. That's it. The head cow is always grazing. And essentially that's like a power thing of just like, if someone's chewing gum, that means that they're in charge. And it's just something that's just come out of nowhere that's just got into their heads. And it's just, they just get, and they're like sort of, they have no attention span. They just go off on something that they think is correct. And so, like as I said before, I think it's like, it's perfect to give them a collaborative game and then just them just literally run in the opposite direction.
On the gum thing, this was not exactly seen, but they all sort of start chewing gum at some point. And then at the end, when they have to spit out their gum, they all had like a massive wad of gum. Yeah. So they'd all been like trying to out-chew each other this whole experience.
Yeah. So what was that gum? It was like a sort of packet of stringy... What is it?
Yeah, Frank probably found it under a bridge or something, it's the kind of thing. I did notice, though, that when they did spit the gum out, Dennis's gumball was the biggest. So he asserted his dominance as the head cow because he'd had the biggest amount of gum that he was chewing. So fair dues, Dennis. I like the mechanic, though. I like the idea of the negotiation. That could be used somehow in an escape room, where you split them off. They've got half of the information and they have to find a way to come together. But it's not so simple. They have to have a bit of a back and forth. I'm not sure how that would work, whether it's time or one person exits before the other and that like impacts a score or something like that. That could be quite nice.
I could see, essentially if you were given kind of roles that had different objectives and essentially you were like, okay, you all have to come together for this meeting and get what you need out of it, but you're going to have to do some sort of a trade essentially to get to the point where all of you can have the thing that you need. I think essentially it's like a sort of a replication of like Potsdam or Yalta or something of just like in reality. And I think that would be interesting because then you would see it. It's sort of like, it's not social deduction, but it's more just about like human dynamics and human social, I guess, interactions to try and, that's the puzzle. The puzzle is trying to unlock each other, basically.
You could have it with the prisoner's dilemma. I can see an escape room built around that. And it's like, if we both choose this, we all succeed. If one of us chooses this and the other doesn't, you don't, kind of thing. And like, but you wouldn't be around a table. I think that would work better if everyone was split up and didn't know what the other people were choosing. That could be an interesting dynamic.
Yeah. So you could still escape collaboratively, but one person gets an extra bit of merch because they came out on top. They were the head cow.
An extra piece of gum.
Chew it.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Like you'd have a room that would just sort of reward you for being essentially, just getting your own way, have an individualist element. It would sort of break the collaborative kind of mold a bit in the sense that just like, actually now you are having to compete a little bit between each other just so like one of you gets the extra thing. And it would, I think, really bring out the sort of the characters who will probably be more into that. If you know your friends, you probably all know someone who might get into that a little bit more.
There are some rooms that have like a saboteur mechanic in them. I'm thinking of one in America actually, and I've never played them, but I know that there are some which do have like one person has a different objective and people don't know who that is. And often people don't even know that's part of the room, but like a win-lose condition is based on a saboteur's role.
That is interesting. I'd love to see how that would work and still be fun for everybody. Fun for one person.
So it's like social deductions, but like Avalon or something where like essentially someone's trying to put you off and manipulate things from behind the scenes, not knowing that they are. I mean, that would be quite disappointing, I think, for the other players to feel that there was a sort of mole within your midst that was constantly trying to push you off course. But it certainly adds a bit of spice.
Yeah,
I think.
I mean, you could make it a bit lower stakes, I suppose. Is you could have it like everyone has an objective, and one person's is you must be the person to open the final lock. One person's is you must hold this particular prop as you leave the room. So it's something that seems quite innocuous, doesn't interrupt the flow of the game, doesn't spoil it. You can still escape.
Yeah, the wool being pulled over your eyes, you'd be like, I didn't know any of that stuff was happening. I think it's always interesting when you find out that your friends have been playing a character the whole time. That's just that's always the fun of social deduction games. But I say fun in inverted commas because sometimes they're not fun. But like essentially, you kind of find out who one of your friends are better at lying than others.
You actually raise a good point in for Always Sunny as well. That in a previous season, Dennis talks about that when he's outed as not being a person he claims to be, and talks about how he massively gets off on that moment where he gets called out for impersonating somebody. And like you look at the screenshots of him as he gets off doing the denouement, it's fantastic. So yeah, there is a thrill for the sort of when the mask comes off and you can go, ha, it was me the whole time.
This happens a lot in horror, like haunt attractions and horror attractions. And Alex, you'll probably know this better than I do, but especially in America where you are with a mixed group and then it turns out one or multiple people were actors, and kind of having that moment where like one of the people in your group gets like pulled off by the gets murdered or whatever it is by like a person.
But this raises the point of this being an American show and an American escape room. Like in a sense, like the normal way of American stuff, as in terms of playing games, is you are shoved with other people in larger groups often. I don't know if that's now kind of lost its edge and or they've stopped doing that, but that's certainly my experience when I first started playing escape rooms in America, is that you're always shoved with strangers, and it really does change the dynamic, and it's really hard to like sometimes have fun because more often than not, I'm sure you probably have this, is that you're probably the most experienced person in the group, and therefore you become the de facto leader because you know what you're doing a bit more, and then you're just like, do I want to be the leader of this sort of ragtag bunch of people? And then
where's my gun?
Yeah, exactly. And then when you get something wrong, you're kind of like, oh, I've misled the team who were all looking at me. And this happened to me in the Saw experience, the one in Vegas many years ago, when I was the only person who played any escape rooms on the whole team. So I basically just had to sort of drag this sort of weird bunch of like 5 different groups. And I was just sort of like, okay. And then it ended up with me doing like a load of maths, which I hate doing. and I got the maths wrong and we failed. And I just came out going, why did this happen? I didn't want this to happen to me whatsoever.
Yeah.
But I think if they'd all turned out to be actors, I would have been like, yes, this was actually very well done. Well done, everyone, for like pretending to be idiots for the entire time. Like that. But yeah, like I quite like the idea of a stooge, like in that in that environment. But you'd have to be put into a group. And I think if you did it in the UK, it would feel forced. You would know. You would be like, this doesn't feel right. This is not normal.
You say that. I did a Fringe show back in the Edinburgh Fringe back when it was August. It was an immersive experience, and it was called Uncle Barry's Birthday Party. And you had to go to a birthday party, and your only instruction was come up with a backstory about how you know Uncle Barry. And you go in, and sort of the play takes place in this apartment, so you can go into different rooms and you can kind of talk to different people, and it's very obvious who are the actors. They're wearing little party hats, they're like taking command and stuff, and they're kind of like showing you around. And I went alone, so I was kind of like sort of bundled in with a couple of other people who came alone, and it was great. Like I got to take a shot of vodka hiding in a cupboard, and then I got to decorate a birthday cake. It was a really good performance. And then at the end, in the big finale, all the actors stood up. And I say all the actors because I thought there were 3 actors. No, there were 10 actors in there. And one of the people I'd spent the whole night with was an actor. And I look at him in the eye and I'm like, I'm so betrayed right now. But then, of course, it made sense. Like, it was really cleverly done. I mean, sort of spoilers for anyone who goes to play it. There are more actors than you think in this birthday party. But that was very cleverly done. And again, not puzzles, but an immersive experience. And I think it worked really well for that situation.
That sounds amazing. As we wrap up on this episode then, so with our collective puzzle making expertise, if you were in charge of designing that specific room, not Dennis's sex dungeon, we're not talking about that one, the Sherlock in the apartment experience, what one thing would you do differently to improve it? And there are many things we could do to improve it. What would be the one thing you'd want to do?
Make it make it an escape room. Just like actually design the thing from start to finish. But no, if I choose, like non-facetious answer, I would like if it's a portable one, I would make the cost lower. I would make the props smaller and things you could fit around sort of a table. I would use more paper, sort of yieldy paper, scrolls and things like that. And I would have the puzzle not refer to the room. So I would have it like, oh, you need to rescue Sherlock Holmes, who is being held in da-da-da-da. Oh, but he's left clues around this apartment. And so the thing you do doesn't have to be a big snazzy finale, but it makes sense that everything you're doing and why we're all sitting around a table or why we're all in one room. I mean, I'm not excited by what I'm saying. Like, I'm like, this is not rubbish.
That's at least it's a full game. I mean, you actually give me a great idea. I mean, I think if you're going to do an escape room in someone's house and it has to be, let's say it has to be Sherlock themed. And then I think it will be really great is using stuff around the house that people would usually use, but then it's been changed in some way. So it would feel like you're discovering your own home in a different way, and using things like Twilio to like have people call you and have like Sherlock call you and like do stuff and maybe go outside and do things, and trying to make your domestic environment that you usually know otherworldly to you, I think would be a really cool idea. And you'd probably need an actor like with you. You could maybe make some sort of play at home experience using tech, possibly. But also, like having an actor in the space with you would totally make it quite electric. I think just like there's an actor in your house acting, that's not something that you usually see, right? So a living, breathing character in your house using your things, I think would be pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, so get rid of all the expensive tech and use that to hire an actor who could do the job and carry it. I like that. One thing I would keep, first of all, is the 20-ounce sirloin steaks as a reward for escaping the room. I mean, we've heard of escape cake when you hit your milestones. Why not escape steak? It almost sounds the same. A steak needs to happen after every room. Go up for steaks.
Could there be a vegan?
What if you're... Yeah, I was going to say...
Yeah, there'll be options for everybody. But yeah, the steak is going to have to be a thing. I think I had something very generic that I was going to say, but after talking to you both, I would introduce the hidden traitor mechanic. Everyone's got a secret objective and slightly makes it a bit more competitive, because then it doesn't really matter if the environment isn't that different, because the players are changed. They're different people to who you thought they were. Because chances are, if it's in your house, you're going to be playing with friends. but it's no longer your friends. It's people that have a secret agenda on top of getting out. And that would make even a fairly mediocre room feel a bit more exciting because it's social deduction. Might rub some people up the wrong way. Right, it comes to the time to rate this particular escape room. So let's go right out of 5 20-ounce sirloin steaks. How many steaks would you give it out of 5?
0. I do not like this escape room. I do not want it to exist. I would not give it a good review. The host was terrible. Puzzles were terrible. No, 0 steaks.
Any advance on 0?
I mean, maybe I give it like 0.5, just because it's like sort of like maybe like a bit different to something I'd seen before. But in terms of like that at-home thing, maybe is worth just a little tilt of your hat to be like, oh, you've tried something different. But otherwise, yeah, it's atrocious as a game. It's not even a game. It's just a vehicle to get Always Sunny to work. And as an Always Sunny episode, it's brilliant, and I give it 5.
Yeah,
but as an escape room, it is almost non-existent.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'd give it like 0.5 to be generous, because the business model is interesting of how they do it, but it's utterly logistically it isn't going to work, and it isn't an escape room. It's just a bunch of expensive props and a couple of CCTV cameras and hoping for the best. So, Always Sunny, sorry, we love the show. Well, 2/3 of us love the show. Mairi, we'll bring around to it. But in terms of escape rooms, utter crap. If you disagree, though, please write to us, tell us, text us, tweet us, whatever. Not tweet us, we're not on that crap place anymore. Facebook and Instagram us.
If the cast want to come on the show and defend it, I would fully support that.
Oh, yeah, Rob back. You're knocking about Wales fairly often with Ryan Reynolds. Come down south toward Cardiff, and we'll have a couple of beers and chat about how you can't design an escape room to save your life. Fight me. Don't
say it was part of the show that the escape room was
true. Yeah, maybe they're doing a double. It's so smart, it's dumb. There's that kind of vibe. Yeah, don't actually fight me, Rob. You've gotten really built recently, and I don't fancy my chances.
Yeah, he's like ripped.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. It's not gonna be well for me. Can I fight 7 Season Mac where he got like fat and stuff? I'll fight that guy. Thank you so very much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to the Infinite Escape Room wherever you get your podcasts for new episodes every single Sunday. And if there's an escape room film or TV episode you want us to discuss, let us know. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Blue Sky at the Infinite Escape Room. Before we round things out, Alex, can you tell us where people can find you and your work?
Yes, so my name's Alex Hylands-White. I'm one of the directors of Clockwork Dog. And you can find out more about Clockwork Dog at clockwork.dog, where you can see the services that we provide for the immersive sector. You can also find out more about COGS, which is the show control system that we make, at cogs.show. We also have an Instagram and a TikTok, which is currently empty, but it probably will be full of stuff by the time you listen to this. And it's they're both cogs.show as well. So
we'll put all the links in the show notes for the listeners as well. Thanks again to our patrons, J. Cameron Cooper, Chris Mikesell, and Karen Kate, for making this episode possible. Your hosts this week have been Mairi, Alex, and me, Jamie. We love you lots, and we'll see you next time on the Infinite Escape Room. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.